Greek. The reverence with which you are viewed in all points from Boca North is just unbelievable. And it was pretty incredible. You should have seen Lubie, the admiration that this young man had for the Greek. He couldn't get enough of him. Well, it took us like an hour to get the Greek back down on the set there. Maps and all kinds of stuff, and then those hot babes that were perusing the area.
Boca's unique, all aspects of life. You can see a dime piece, and then somebody that's got 2 minutes to live. On the same street. No doubt about it. I mean, you can have somebody come up to you in Boca and ask you for Botox, then next block ask you for Coke.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Happy to have you guys with us for the Tuesday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz will be with you until about 9 o'clock today, and then we have to indulge ourselves and engage ourselves in other ventures. We do have our no filter thing working, morning briefing, which is working out fine. And then we attempted yesterday to do our initial show, our inaugural program on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. And it didn't go so well. It was a wash. It was a scrub. It was a scratch. Vet scratch at the gate, as Andy would say, as we just never got on the air. That was one of those things, too, where, man, you're doing one of these. Hey. Lubie, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know. Tony Bruno is cutting in. Miss Robin, who, of course, is kind of behind this whole thing. We're very excited about that. The more I think about it, I love doing radio. I always did, Lubie. I don't know about you. I still think it's a great medium. I dig the streaming thing because now you people can see the people that are speaking to you and trying to, dare we even use this word, trying to do a little entertainment here on the show and make sports seem like it would be a lot of fun and agonize over tough beats and all of the stuff that goes along with it. I kind of like that. I actually wish the Bruno thing was a streaming system in some ways, but it'll be interesting to get back into it. We're going to make another attempt at it today. Supposedly things are going a little bit better. The word was that right before we came on the air, while things were just sailing along with the launch of the Tony Bruno Sports Network yesterday, which you have to download the app. Even I was able to do it, Lubie.
Good man.
I was able to do it. I have the app on my phone right now, the Tony Bruno Sports Network. So I believe this thing will evolve. I mean, this is only day number 2. Even if it's a total bust out today, I think it will evolve.
Yeah,
but
that'd be fine.
You don't necessarily want to debut with something that isn't working. That's the other side of this industry where, you've told people, hey, we got this monster thing working. It's going to be great. And then you either don't get on the air or you're just laced with feedback throughout the entire show. Is that mix minus punched in? Remember that? You used to get the Grand Canyon effect. Hello, ho, 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 ho. And nobody could figure out what to do. And it was like one button. Press one button on a machine, and there it is. Boom, it's gone.
Yes.
People would be scrambling. Engineers would be running around. They got ladders. They're looking at the roof. They got ether cables or whatever that is. Strangling the guy with it. And I think it's going to work out. Iron Eagle is scheduled. You really did a nice job, Louie.
I tried
lining up these initial shows.
I feel like I should have waited a week.
Nothing worse, right, than calling a guest back that you would normally think it's got to be. It's very special that they would even attempt to accommodate you on something like this. Iron Eagle, obviously. I mean, how busy is this cat, right? He's doing Nets games. He's doing TBS basketball games. He's doing football games. I don't even know how he has time to sleep, Iron Eagle. I mean, that's a grueling schedule, is it not? All of that travel, even if you were flying private jet, it's still, is a lot to do, a lot to encompass. And then, you have to do the game. So he's been around, the NBA and the NFL long enough to know most of the players, I would think. But there are always new guys, new names. And it's not like in the NFL, he's doing the same team every week, which would be a lot easier because having done play-by-play, you know your own team instinctively and intuitively. And so you really only have to, if you're doing play-by-play on basketball, maybe you need to know like 8 or 9 names on the other team and be able to recognize them by their number right away. You know your own team's characteristics, so that's not too tough to decipher. You know what kind of plays they're going to run. But if you're doing a brand new pair of teams every time you go out there, a little bit of a different story. I guess it would be especially rough if you were a National Hockey League national announcer, right? Where you have to try and attempt to do those names, and you've never seen either of the teams before, forget about it. Although nobody would know if you were making a mistake either, right?
That's the thing.
That's just it. But anyway, so that's happening later on today, and that gets underway at 10 o'clock. Download the Tony Bruno Sports Network app. All you have to do is Google Tony Bruno Sports Network, download the app, boom, and you are now in tune with us as a radio entity, hopefully beginning today and, as they say, into perpetuity.
Yes.
Whenever a lawsuit is settled. Don't come back and ask us for any more money. All right, it was a great night of sports last night. You know what? I forgot the World Series was even on last night.
Oh, that's funny.
I went out and I played some tennis last night, very poorly again. I told my buddy, Dr. Jerry, the exhibition season is officially over after last night. No more losses going to be incurred by the Def. We start smacking the ball again. Felt pretty good. Got done with that, came home, and realized, wow, not only are the Panthers in a rematch of their playoff encounter with the Boston Bruins, which the Panthers got down, or they got ahead 2-0 in that game. Reinhardt now with 8 goals on the season already. Holy Bobby Hull. What are we talking about here? Holy Ovechkin. And they blow the 2-0 lead. They end up in overtime. I love the 3-on-3 overtime to decide NHL games. I know there was some complaint when it was 4-on-4 that the two teams just tried to push the puck around for 5 minutes so they could get to the shootout. Very Brian Daboll-esque. No, that's more Mario Cristobal, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's just get to the next gimmick to decide the game. All right, Mario, why don't you go ahead and take a fucking knee? What a douche. Wow. I never thought I would say that. I like Mario Cristobal. I always did, didn't you?
I didn't have anything against him. I was fine with him. He just always frustrated me as a coach. Like FIU, he was okay, but at Oregon, like he always left something to be desired. Like he did really good in recruiting, and he had a lot of talent, and they would never get to where other teams, like Utah, would beat them every year with half the talent. It's like,
yes.
Okay, something's different here. Whittingham knows something that this guy doesn't.
That Utah coach is great too.
He's great.
Yeah, I love that guy, man. He looks like he slept at the bus station before the game, just to get a feel for the rough life. Doesn't he? I mean, always disheveled.
Or like a cow. He looks like an old, like Western, like the cowboy that's old.
Yeah, like he literally came out of the mountains there somewhere in Utah. Well, there's Cowboy Bob.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there he is.
That's your coach? Certainly not as polished as Nick Saban would be if he was standing on the sidelines there with some fancy Alabama gear on. I don't even know if he wears the team colors. I think he just comes down there in like a regular some schleppy shirt that he put on, like me when I get up to do these shows. Yeah, Cristobal. I don't want to get into it because attacking people is not going to be my game today. No, it just isn't. All right, so the Panthers end up losing. I like the 3-on-3 overtime in the NHL because it comes down, the offensive end, one team, and if that team doesn't score, then it's like a 2-on-1 breakaway the other way, sometimes 2-on-none, and it's great. And so the Bruins got the goal in overtime, and they won the game, and the Panthers picked up a point. They're off to a little bit of a slow start in defense of their Eastern Conference championship. The Bruins, however, just the opposite, along with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Just an unbelievably hot start to the season. So the Bruins come out on top there. And then, and this, I was a little worried about bringing this up, Lubie, because we really didn't get into it yesterday. We had so much football on the show and John and Jimmy joining us with the Pigskin Playbook. But load management, we often talk about disturbing 2-word groupings that are tantamount to a kiss of death. One would be, I do. I mean, that would be the most prominent one. Would that not be the list topper? I do. 2-word groupings that can often spell doom.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes.
I do.
Yeah. Even when it works out, it's wrenched in doom.
Doom. The minute that happens. We know this for a fact that everything changes. The minute, the second, the millisecond she says, I do.
Is it bad that that's not what happened? Everything changed the minute we started dating. Like Shirley's been pretty. I give her credit; she's been the same person the whole time.
Wow.
So is that on me?
Remarkable movie. How'd you find a situation like that?
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's good. I'm just saying she's been a pain in the ass.
Like finding a kilo of coke while you're walking the beach by yourself and you're looking around going, anybody here? Hey, El Chapo! No sign of anybody from the cartel. No sign of cops. What do you do? Do you call the police? I would think not.
No way.
Even if you just stashed it in a closet and waited till you were on a morphine drip about to check out, it would be nice to have it around, wouldn't it? That'll wake you up here. Maybe it'll revive the kid. That'd be a better way to go, right? Than on the morphine drip. Just laced with a giant dose of pure off the Colombian vine cocaine. Would be fantastic. But anyway, yeah. And the game last night, I realized, wow, aren't the Bucks playing the Miami Heat? When I tuned into that game, they're down 24 in the third quarter. In fact, I think I texted you that this was absolute garbage.
I didn't see any. I went to bed. I didn't watch any of that game.
It turned out to be a little bit interesting, as most NBA games do. Towards the end, as the Heat closed, I believe the closest they got was 6. I was kind of flipping back and forth because I didn't realize the World Series was even on last night. I forgot all about it. Yeah, hey, Mr. Baseball, huh?
The Equinox shit. It was the one day of the year where all major 4 major American professional sports played the same day.
That's it. It only happens one time a year?
Yeah, because I guess the other days of the World Series, there's no football, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand.
Okay, because you had Monday Night Football. Yes.
But like, what if, wouldn't there be a World Series game on Thursday? So why couldn't the same thing happen Thursday?
Good question.
Yeah, that was the thing, but I'm like,
I don't think there is a World Series game this Thursday.
Then that's what I guess it magically.
No, it would be. They played last night, so they play again tonight and tomorrow.
Yes,
and then Thursday's a day off. They would travel back, if necessary, Lubie. They would travel back to
Friday. No NFL.
Yeah, to the Texas Rangers Arlington site to complete the World Series, if that comes to pass. A close game last night, as it turned out. I was watching, though, the Heat and the Bucks, and I didn't get a chance to get into this yesterday, Lou, because I was shocked to see. Now, Jimmy Butler didn't play in the fourth quarter of this game. So I thought, well, geez, maybe we're wrong about this load management thing where he sat out the previous game that the Heat played.
The game randomly. No one talked about any injuries. No one even knew he had an injury. He just didn't play.
3 games into the season, and you're like a $50 million a year player, and you're the guy that's going to lead this team, spearhead its movement to redeem themselves after they fell to the Nuggets and felt like, well, geez, we could have won and had a championship. We were the best team in the East, coming out of nowhere. They just had that very, very, mild regular season last year where it looked like they might even miss the playoffs. Mild is not a good way to describe that, is that, Lubie? I was searching for a word.
Horrendous regular season. They had been to the Eastern Conference Finals, were a 1 seed.
Lackluster would be it.
Yes,
right?
Should have missed the playoffs because they ended up losing. They were the first 7 seed in this Fakakta tournament shit to lose. And
they lose the opening game to the Hawks, right? Trae Young, the guy with the thinning hair.
Yeah, a Hawks team that had thrown it in. And then they play a Bulls team that had thrown it in the towel. And they should have lost to that team.
Trailing late, they end up as the Eastern Conference champions. So some people thought maybe that was a little bit fugazi. They got hot at the right time. Yeah. Everything kind of fell into place for them, and it was a remarkable run. And it looked like they were in there with a little bit of a chance. They got revenge on Milwaukee and knocked them out of the playoffs. That series looked like it was going to be very lopsided in favor of the Bucks. The Bucks make moves. They get their guy, Damian Lillard, and you would think that the Heat would be absolutely inspired last night.
Yeah.
And they weren't. I mean, they were getting clobbered. They did come back with subs in the game and second line players in the fourth quarter. And then Spoelstra decided to leave them in. He never put Jimmy Butler into the game in the fourth quarter. Butler wasn't having a particularly good game, nor has he been that big of a factor so far this year, has he?
No. That one game where it was pretty good because Hero and Bam had good games. He had 19. He had like a double-double. He had 13 last night. I mean, maybe something is wrong with him. I don't know what they're doing. Bam is in his mid-20s. And from what I know, there's nothing wrong with him. And he just doesn't play in the fourth game after losing to the fucking T-Wolves. Like, I get it's early.
Insane, isn't it? I mean, how do you have load management in the first week of the season?
I'm just telling you right now, the Nuggets aren't using this approach. The Nuggets won the title and are like, we're going to fucking annihilate people this regular season. And the way Butler was talking, that's what I thought the Heat were going to do. Like people, like even Scoop, who thinks the Heat will have a better regular season than last year, thought they'd still win less than 50. And I was on with Greek last week, and the Greek, the Greek is hands in the air. It's all sad. They're going to be horrible. They lost. They didn't get Dame. They didn't add anyone. And I'm like, no, you're not looking at the roster. Like, they're a better team. They added a healthy hero who's motivated. I think they're going to win over 50 games. And then they lose to the T-Wolves and they look like they did yesterday. It's like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I don't know what their approach is to this season. I'm really confused.
You wish you would get some kind of clarification on that. I mean, Mr. Forthright, Eric Spoelstra, seems like a guy that would tell you the truth, doesn't he?
Yep.
You don't look at Eric Spoelstra and think, liar! Now, we know that in sports today, these organizations like to be very private. They don't want you to know their darkest inner secrets. They try to tell you things like, well, geez, we never wanted to part with Tyler Hero. And you're supposed to believe that. And that's coming from Pat Riley, the epitome, the Dalai Lama of truth.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
No, he doesn't tell the truth. He's the opposite. It's the one organization where nothing gets out. Yeah.
You can't handle the truth, I guess, would be more the MO of one Pat Q. Riley. But nonetheless, has there been any explanation of this? Has anybody asked, hey, what is this? Where Jimmy Butler's on the bench for an entire game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a third game of the season, and you're asking yourself, well, when did he become Kawhi Leonard? You would think he would be the anti-Kawhi. That the last thing that he would want to do is be limited to 65 or less games during the course of the regular season, because there will be a time, possibly, right? I mean, across 82 games where you do get injured or have some, ailment that isn't overwhelmingly severe, but nonetheless is compromising, a little plantar fasciitis, so something like that. Your elbow gets sore, somebody knocks you in the teeth, shoulder, and you don't really feel like playing. So maybe those would be the games to do it. But to have designed load management in games 3, and Adebayo didn't play at all last night. Coach's decision.
No, yeah, before the game he wasn't. They said Adebayo's not playing tonight, and I haven't heard about any injuries he's having or any issues he's having.
He looked fine, didn't he?
I thought he was playing well. I was like, except he can't rebound for some reason.
Well, what the fuck is that? Honestly, that's a disgrace. You have nationally televised games. I don't know if this one was on national TV. I don't think it was, but nonetheless, I mean, it's one of those games, an early season statement game, Lubie. Is that a good cliched way to put it? An early season statement game.
Well, for the Bucks, look, I'll give the Bucks credit. They played everyone. Like they're taking this season, and I get it. They're a new group, so they have to figure things out, so that's fine. But like the Nuggets aren't, the Celtics aren't, like all these other teams are heating that thing, and then you have like Bradley Beal not playing, Booker not, like it's weird. They have these new guidelines, and then there are these teams that are laughing at it. They're like, fuck your guidelines, and the Heat are one of them, which is weird. You would never think the Heat would be one of those teams, but like
no.
It's confusing. I just know what they're doing. Like I've made all these pronouncements and I'm sort of backing off of it because I don't know what to expect. I now don't know what to expect. I thought, look, Heroes proved me right. Hero looks fucking great. Heroes like taking the next
35 points last night and a huge ball game.
He's been more assertive offensively. He hasn't been a sieve defensively. He's moving the ball. He's rebounding a little. Like
he's playing like he has the proverbial chip on his shoulder.
On his shoulder, exactly. I'm trying to not use too many cliches, but
let's go all cliche today.
But he
pretty much what sports talk is anyway. But
he looks good, and I'm like, okay, good for him. And then the rest of the team's like, Josh Richardson didn't play till last night. It's like the dude just got here.
What the hell? No, that was crazy and very deflating to see how badly the Heat were trailing in that game. And then I forgot about the World Series, and that turned out to be another interesting ball game. Anytime they bring in Aroldis Chapman now, it's kind of like I felt when Antonio Alfonseca would take the hill for the Marlins back in the day when he was their closer. Now, Chapman is no longer of closer caliber in most opinions and has been coming in like the 7th and 8th innings of games for the Texas Rangers. And he came in with a, 3-0 lead last night? 3-0.
I don't know. Scherzer pitched well?
Scherzer was okay. Got hit by a bouncing ball, came back through the box and hit him in the elbow.
Oh, geez. He was actually pitching decent. He didn't give up.
Yes, Scherzer was doing all right. And that kind of threw everything into helter-skelter mode for Bruce Bochy as he had to go to the bullpen. And these are two teams that are already what happened to the greats, right? Where they used to pitch Gibson in game 1, 4, and 7. You could count on that. And in behind him, I mean, you had, studs as well. I mean, I was looking up some details about the 69 World Series. I think about that. I mean, you had Seaver and Koosman going, and the Orioles had those 4 guys that won the 20 games. I think, what was that season, 1969? They won like 108 games when they had 4 starting pitchers all win. Can you still name them, Lubie?
I never could.
That's a good one. Wow, I'm going to have to rack my brain for that. I know Jim Palmer was one. Mike Cuellar was another. I'm going to say that was Wally Bunker one of those 20-game winners? Wally Bunker? Is that possible? I don't even know if he was on the team then, Defo.
No clue.
Who was the
Orioles? The 4 20-game winners for the Orioles.
4 20-game winners for the Orioles in one season. We don't know A, if that's in 1969, or B, who the 4 guys were. Where there was a time possibly, and I'm going to have to start considering
71.
It's 71. Okay, a couple of years later. All right, who are the 4 guys? Palmer and Cuellar were 2 of them. Was Bunker one? Wally Bunker? No,
I have no idea. Was it Pat Dobson and Dave McNally?
Oh, Dave McNally. Yeah. Okay. What the hell am I thinking? Wally Bunker. I think he was on the White Sox.
I don't know what that is. Archie Bunker.
No, I had a Wally Bunker mitt. That's why I remember the guy. And I was thinking of Bunker because, you had, what, Dave McNally was he not a crafty left-hander, Dave McNally?
Yeah, Dave McNally was a lefty.
Okay. So, that was a hell of a team, though, even going back then. So they may not have had those 4 guys in 69, but wow, surprising. When you look at the status of pitching in the major leagues today, and you can't now, the Rangers should have had DeGrom. They did have Scherzer out there, and they've had a couple of other guys that have done well. Evaldi, of course, has been a force for them throughout the playoffs, and Montgomery, the guy that they picked up, also doing well for them. But they're hard pressed. I think the Diamondbacks are throwing a bullpen game today, so you're going to see a bunch of guys that you never heard of in there trying to go 2 2/3 and see, well, he did his job. But a far cry from what you used to get in the classic World Series, where you had definitive aces, and somehow they were never hurt, Lubie. Is that not incredible?
They always played, especially in the playoffs. You always had the pitching was always there in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In the 80s, 90s, and 2000s that I remember.
You think Mickey Lolich was going to sit down in a Game 7 just because he had pitched 2 days before? I don't think so.
Even Maddox and Glavine and Randy Johnson, Smoltz, the Marlins guys were always, even Beckett always had some schmanky thing wrong with him. He pitched that in the playoffs. Like the ace, Pedro Martinez, like the aces always found a way to pitch in the playoffs. Like it's really weird how you don't really have aces now. Like even
aces, I think most staffs have at least one guy.
It's weird.
Like, but you don't necessarily go 4 or 5 deep in spite of the fact that clubs have spent boatloads of money trying to bring about that circumstance. Or, done it as the Marlins were claiming they were going to do it, where they were going to nurture these young guys through the minor league farm system and then eventually have pitching staffs that not only weren't making exorbitant amounts of money and were going to be around for a couple of years in the bigs with them, but we're going to be 4 or 5 deep. And that hasn't transpired either. What is that? I mean, holy Tommy John, what are we talking about here, Lubie? It is rare that you see.
You're talking baseball. It's fine. I can. The World Series is going on, even though
it was an afterthought, and it was actually, again, an exciting game. You had the Rangers blow out in game number 2. And so, they got blown out in game number 2. The Diamondbacks at 50-1, Lubie. 50-1 before the postseason, and they're right in there with a fighting chance. My God.
They are.
Can you imagine the agony if you had a dime on this?
No, you would have hedged by now. I mean, you still want to win, I guess. Your hedge isn't going to be as good as your win, but if you're smart at all,
if you were in a position to win 50,000 and you didn't hedge off some of that, and you would put up 1,000, why would you want to be in a spot where you lost $1,000?
No, you got to at least break.
You deserve to make something for the fact that they got there in the first place. They had to win 3 series to get into this position, and you essentially were parlaying all of that into the World Series championship at 50-1.
And you don't want to lose. That's the thing. Like, it's like the Heat or the Panthers. Like, I'm sure their odds were horrendous going into the playoffs. So, like, to have them finally get to the finals, and they both lost. So then you would make nothing. Like,
nothing. No, not only make nothing, but lose.
You would have lost. Yeah, you would have lost. Exactly. Like, you want to at least break.
I'm a loser. But is it are you kind of, I hate to use this word, but I can't, it would be the most common one applied to this. Are you a bit of a pussy?
Yes, 100%. But like, whatever.
Thank God Leslie's in Paris.
Yeah,
no, but I mean, are you a wimp if you hedge off?
Yes, but sometimes, like you said, and I'm sure you don't.
If you hedge off to barely break even, I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah, but it's better than losing. To go do that whole thing and then lose.
You shouldn't lose at this point. If you back the Arizona Diamondbacks before the playoffs at 50-1 and put up any amount of money, even if it was $10, you don't deserve to walk away with nothing.
No,
And then on top of that, be a loser. Now, if you'd only put $10 up, okay, maybe you take the shot. What are you going to do? Bet $17 to get your 10 back? I don't think so, because it's minus 170 if you're playing the Texas Rangers in this series. So you do have to hedge off quite. You would have had to hedge off maybe, 5,000 at that point. And if you would bet 5,000 on the Rangers, you're going to get back, I think, 3,500. So you make either 1,500 or 45,000 or 44,000. I mean, you don't want to come out a loser on that spot.
Oh.
Wimp or no wimp? That's the question of the day.
Oh, you're a wimp, but sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be responsible. I know gambling is the antithesis.
Your friends just walk away from you when you show up at the track after you're hedged off on the World Series. I don't want to hang out with this guy. What a jerk.
What an asshole.
What an asshole. You hedging
Pushed down.
Couldn't be any lower of a form of pond scum to be, somebody that hedged off a bet there when you made this big bold move in the first place, right? Me, bet 50-1. Like you were King fucking Kong. And, then you're bragging that you have it. And come to find out that you hedged off 20,000. Get the fuck out of here. I guess that would be a bit of a disgrace. All right. We're going to come back with more. Frank Howard checked down. I have a little story on Frank Howard.
Oh, really? Oh, that sucks.
87 years old. The big man himself. One of the first pro athletes that, you know what? I can't say that he was the first pro athlete I ever had direct contact with where, like, the guy shook my hand and said, "It's nice to meet you." But it was like a 10-year-old DeForest that met Frank Howard in the locker room of the Washington Senators, introduced by a guy. So we'll pay tribute to Frank Howard. He had a great career. Your man is on the move, James Harden.
Oh, yeah. Did you see this?
Who are these guys? I mean, I've heard of some of them.
It's fine. I just what is the Clippers game? I'm just
a new big three, my friend.
Another old guy that's oft injured and pissed. Okay, sure.
How long before he declares that L.A. is no place to live?
I'm sure the Nuggets are shaking in their boots.
Woo. It's a good acquisition for the Nuggets because now you have a guy that'll keep the ball out of the hands of Kawhi and Paul George.
Exactly.
While Westbrook, I mean, is still on the roster, isn't he?
Yes, it's Westbrook too. They showed a picture. I'm like, oh my God, what a great team in 2016.
Yeah, if they were going to the 2016 Olympics, you would say
a great team.
Pretty much assured of the gold.
Paul George is like, none of them ever played. They're all hurt all the time.
That was big news, man. Personally, I don't know that I can follow another James Harden, docudrama there. And I'm not a big, I know Billy Crystal would be upset about that, but I'm not a big Clippers fan. The whole Donald Sterling thing was a turnoff. Now I know, the new guy that came in there, the zillionaire,
Bomber.
Yeah. Bomber. And he's a little over the top in his enthusiasm. The subdued waddle that was done by Stephen Ross in the owner's box when Waddle scored the touchdown for the Dolphins on Sunday. All right, that's kind of cute, is it not? Here's an old fart with no rhythm.
I mean, but after all they've been through, and he's become this lightning rod. Yet he's actually tried to win. Even you and I defended him years ago. Like he's tried to win and tried to stay out of it. He's just an idiot with who he hires, and his loyalties are weird.
What do you think of this Garfinkel guy?
Garfinkel's fine.
Do we know anything about him? I mean,
he handles the business side. He doesn't handle anything.
Yeah,
whatever. You
would have to think he was making, though, Lubie, Stephen Ross, a bunch of money in this sports enterprise.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I think Ross kills it financially. I'm sure Ross is doing really well. It's just on the field they were a disaster. But to see them finally win and be fun, let him have some fun. Good for him. You never see him. He stays out of it. He's not Dolan.
No. It's funny because, he had made some bozoic moves from a public relations standpoint, yes. Not the least of which was that Tim Tebow celebration that he had with the Denver coming into town and beating the Miami Dolphins when Tony Sparano went Red Sea. The Broncos, had no chance in that game until and maybe Stephen Ross even called down on the red phone and said, "Go Red Sea, so Tebow doesn't look so bad." Because Tebow was about to exit the league. That would have been it, I think.
Yeah, he had played like
Even
shit.
Josh McDaniels had seen enough, I would think, of Tim Tebow to realize that we cannot. There's a cliche for you. You can't win with this guy. You can't win, Rock. These was good fighters. They were all setups. We've been trying to get to this break for a little while here. We're just carrying on like a fool. All right. We're going to come back with more. Later on, I guess, it's part of the excitement, the inner excitement I have of, hopefully getting this new venture off the ground today with Iron Eagle as one of our guests. I mean, that's pretty good stuff, no?
Yes. Iron Eagle.
And then you have Steve Largent involved in the show, although he's really only coming on to promote pork rinds.
Yeah, we'll talk football, though. And Jason Cole.
Jason Cole as well. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm trying to I want this thing to work. There's only so much I can do.
It's like an all-star program that we're putting together here. We don't even know if we can. Hey, out. My favorite. I started doing a show a couple of times yesterday.
I did
don't know
too.
if you caught any of it.
But I lost you, so then I thought I was by myself, so I started doing it by myself.
And I lost everybody, so I was just babbling.
Then I'm like, I think no one's there.
Well, you know what? I got into this business as a kid because I always loved it. I loved the sound of Mel Allen. There's a long fly ball.
I did the same thing. I was like,
What the fuck? Hello? I'm telling you, man. King Crimson. I talked to the wind. You should play that. The wind cannot hear. The wind does not hear. All right, we're going to come back with more here on the Defo Show on a Tuesday in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Steve Largent, what were the odds of that, man? We just mentioned Steve Largent out of thin air the other day. Was that yesterday?
I think so.
We were talking about Steve Largent, great receivers of all time. And Steve Largent wouldn't be the first name that pops up, right? Automatically, you go to what? Jerry Rice.
Oh, that's the thing. Last week you brought up the Tyreek Hill.
The Tyreek Hill thing about is he one of the greatest of all time?
It's just generational to me. Like outside of Rice, where Rice feels like he crosses all generations, like a Randy Moss or a Hill or.
We were talking to that author,
Yes.
The guy from the Athletic,
and Pompey.
That's impossible to have a list of the 100 greatest of all time, and you're going to throw like a little Sid Luckman in there just out of gratuity to the past. I don't know.
It's respect.
Sid Luckman.
Where do they fit? That's the thing. Like I don't know. The other generation gets sort of screwed. Look, he put in Don Hudson. Trying to say, look, the guy for his era was amazing. They didn't throw the ball ever, and he still put up numbers. What would he have done? I get it, but that's not how it works.
Only one guy used to go out on a pass pattern back in the day.
Like, I mean,
they had like 9 men, 8 men in the block. You had the quarterback, and Paul Warfield would go out as a decoy. Comparing eras is impossible. Imagine it. I mean, Greasy threw 7 passes in a Super Bowl win.
Yes, and they won.
And he's in the Hall of fucking Fame.
Yeah, they won. It's like
they won. Yeah. Because you got Zonka, and he had that thing that I always talk about, the kid from my neighborhood, Joey Bonanno, where everybody would jump on the guy's back, and no one could bring him down. He just kept rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Wasn't that Zonka, right?
Yeah, Zonka, for sure.
It was looking like he really did. He looked like that overweight tuba player from the FAMU band going through the bus there, and everybody's like whacking him with paddles and cattle prods. They have acetylene torches that they're blowing at the guy, and he just keeps going. Oh, God. You better get to the back door, son, or you won't be able to blow that horn for a while.
Jesus.
What kind of initiation was that to be in the marching band?
No, it's just a band.
Think about it. I mean, it's not like you were going into some biker club that
not war,
scaring a shit bunch of skinheads that were scaring the living daylights out of all of the people of Northern Florida. You're in a band. You're a tuba player. Big fat kid. That's insane, Lubie. What would I hate to use the word spark an initiation like that, where I mean that's a hazing of a serious. Did they still do that, or they finally?
Oh no, I think they got a lot of shit. I mean, they almost were disbanded.
But it was well known forever that this was going on.
Yeah, they got away with it until something bad happens. That no one actually react.
This was worse than that doctor. That was I mean, he was involved with all of these gymnasts.
Oh, Ohio State guy. Yeah. Ohio State one? Or the actual national one? Yeah.
Nasser, whatever the guy's name was.
Yeah, the guy that the great Jim Jordan didn't give a
Oh,
shit.
well, he was a fine individual, I tell you what.
And he knew
My
about
wife used him as her gynecologist. Okay, great. Jordan. Okay, we're coming back with more. We're way off base here. We're going to pay a little tribute to Frank Howard. We're talking about
there you go.
vaginal contact. Sorry, people. We all have our weak moments.
We have a lot of them.
Hello?
I feel like in an hour it's gonna get real fun.
Yay. Better get it back on the rails. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's like the bullet train, man. Is that a pedestrian? It's 8:39. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Don't gamble in anger.
She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little help, don't gamble in anger.
I get a panicked phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang went wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Going to be with you here, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, the Defo Show on South Florida Live. Later on today, you can catch the morning briefing, nofilter.net. And, of course, we are anxiously awaiting the debut of our first show. Well, I guess the debut would be covering that. Our first show, our initial offering on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, which people are telling us, Lubie, that it's coming in fine.
Yeah, right now it sounds good.
See, but that's a different story. I mean, because those guys are in one place. And I think the issues that they were having were compounded by the fact that we are on the other coast of Florida from where their central operating position is. And that, there are all kinds of different things that happen when, you plug in with a different system. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, good to be with you. And we will hopefully have that debut coming your way at 10 o'clock today. Be joined by Steve Largent, wide receiver Steve Largent. How much time do we have to spend on the pork rinds when we
it's
have
just National Pork Rind Day. You can bring that up with him, and then we'll talk.
You know how I handle that. Hey, what about some pork rinds? And then he comes on, and we try to get something of value out of Steve Largent. Seahawks, right?
Oh, great.
Seahawks.
Yeah, he was the wide receiver leader before Jerry Rice. When you look at his numbers now, they look stupid. Like at the time, they were huge. No,
he was a sensational player. He really was, Steve Largent. What era was that? Was that 70s, in the 70s, 80s?
Or 80s, yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, and Steve Largent would qualify as one of those guys that would be involved in that conversation. I believe we might have brought him up with the guy from The Athletic who had written about the 100 greatest NFL players. Impossible. I mean, how do you decipher between number 100 and number 101? Where do you do the cutoff? Like the man said, you have, 200 plus members of the NFL Hall of Fame?
Yes.
So, okay, even if you thought a few stiffs got in there, well, I mean, what is Lynn Swan doing in the Hall of Fame, people would say? Or even Greasy, I mean, comes under debate. People debate whether Joe Willie, which I would refute, and I would campaign vociferously against the idea that Joe Willie did not deserve to be of Hall of Fame stature. He kind of waffled on that, huh? Not Hall of Fame so much, but top 100. He did not have Joe Willie in the top 100. One of the most influential players, you would have to say, at the very least, in the history of the National Football League. Jason Cole also going to join us on the, this is allegedly, on the Tony Bruno Sports Network later on today. And then, if you were going to talk sports with anybody on an inaugural program, what's wrong with having Ian Eagle join us on the show? Where would Ian be in between gigs?
He's probably at home now. It's a Tuesday. So he goes back, from what I know. He doesn't like staying at places. I mean, but he is doing.
Does he have a home?
Yes, he has a home. He has a wife. He has the whole thing.
He may have to go Madden Cruiser, this guy.
I don't know. We'll ask him. I know it's NBA season, so he does stuff in the middle of the week now with the Nets and then also TNT. So he probably has NBA games as well. So, I mean, he's all over the place. This time of the year until like football ends, he's like everywhere. And then even NBA until like the summer that he gets like 2-3 months where he's off. And then the rest of the year, it's like fucking insane.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's how we do the intro, right? Here's a man that's logging more miles than in his prime, the Iron Sheik did. And he'll immediately, respond by saying, "Only you, DeForest. Only you." All right. So where do we stand? I did not want to ignite you about this load management thing, but it is an issue in sport. If you're going to play an 82-game regular season and pay somebody $50 million to participate in that, and then, of course, have a postseason, and everybody covets a championship, and that's supposedly the only thing that you should aim for. There's no satisfaction in finishing second or anywhere after that, whether your team was on the improve. How many times can you sell that to your season ticket holders? Yeah, we're going to be good. People don't care about that anymore, do they?
No.
They would rather, I think, have you win one championship and be bad for the next 10 years than never having won the title. Is that a fair statement? Or would you always, as a sports fan, want your team to at least be competitive, but thinking they will never quite get over the hump because they're missing that one component, that one catalyst that would carry them to the championship, which in a lot of cases, Lubie, is what? Luck. Is it not?
Yeah, you can have the most talent in the world. It doesn't always work out that way, especially with health concerns.
Luck plays a large role in all of this. And you have to sort of at least be at a certain level to benefit from that luck. I would say that that's fair. But nonetheless, it's not something that is empirically true, that the best team is always going to win or the best player. We know that. I mean, it's so cliched. Here we go. I'm really delving into heavy sports cliche-ism today. I don't think that's a good omen for the beginning of the radio show, where all you're talking about, well, you know what? It's going to boil down to who wants it more. I couldn't believe they made that a promo of one of those 10-man panel sports pregame shows. I think it was on Amazon Prime on the Thursday night game. And one of the guys who I don't even know, even though I've seen his name supered and attempted to figure out who is this guy, looks like a former player, but nobody that is sizable. It's not like they put Patrick Mahomes up there and you know right away, okay, yeah, I can tell by the hair. And they feature this guy as one of the highlights of this show that was going to compel you to say, you know what, I don't want to miss that pregame show. And the guy literally says, it's going to boil down to who wants it more.
Oh, Jesus.
And you're thinking, that's what you're promoting as the insight on the show? Holy Al D. Regatas, what are we talking about here? Pretty incredible. But, a lot of luck involved, of course. And the best laid plans don't always work out. It's just as you look at what's happening so far, transpiring so far in the NBA, it is interesting that the Nuggets, as you correctly alluded to, Lubie, have just shot out of the gate like this was going to be a one-horse race, which we know it's not going to be in the long run. But as you look at what's happening in the early stages of the season, you would have to be impressed by that and somewhat mystified by the approach of the Miami Heat. Would you not?
I'm just confused. I mean, that's mystified is the perfect word. They lost out in Damian Lillard. They didn't get Beal. It was an offseason full of question marks. Like, it's weird to me that I thought they would come in, vim and vigor, Butler every interview. Watch, we're going to be there at the end. Just watch. And they're sort of,
yeah. You want to see Schwitz dripping off his chin as he just conquered, the Celtics, the Wolves, and the Bucks in succession. That would have been great, would it not? Instead of like, well, you know what? I don't know about Bam playing tonight. Eric Spoelstra, what are you doing? What kind of scam is this? My man, Pat Riley. How is he perpetrating this hoax on his adoring public here in South Florida? And everybody's still gun-ho, Lubie. And the guy that you thought was least likely to appear on this roster this year is so far the shining star of the early stages of the Heat season.
Yes, it's nice.
At least based on last night's game.
It's nice to see this hero.
Although he did.
Curious where everyone else.
Yeah,
it's nice to see this hero. I'm just curious where everyone else is. I just don't know what they're doing.
Hard to say. That's for sure. Anyway, that's been somewhat of a mystery. I did want to touch on this Frank Howard thing because it still has meaning to me years and years later. My dad was an editor for a book publishing company, at the time Hearst Corporation. Before, I guess, no, it was kind of an independent thing. It was eventually bought out by the Hearst Corporation, his company, and they sent him packing. And he had to have a change of careers completely, Lubie, if you can imagine that. Here's a guy, he's got 2 kids. He's got the house on Long Island, mortgage payment that I'm sure was a bit prohibitive because salaries weren't very high. Like if you were making $20,000 a year when my dad was a professional.
That's sick.
That was decent money.
Yeah.
It was enough to live in the suburbs of New York, move out of the city, stop paying rent, own your own place, maybe even on the water. A couple of grand more. My dad could have bought a house across the street on the water. Financial error of judgment on his part. But $2,000 meant a lot back then.
Yes.
It wasn't like, you go to the track, I lost 2 dimes today. This was, a huge differential in consideration for any kind of financial transaction. So anyway, when he was doing that, he was editing books from hardcover. He would work with the authors and transition the book into paperbacks. And I don't know what was involved, but it was like a post-editing thing that he was involved with, and he was very good at it. And there was a guy named Jim Lucas, was a war correspondent, who naturally you would think was inclined to be from the Washington, D.C. area, since he was covering these sort of things, wars and politics that were involved in it. And what was a well-decorated war correspondent. I mean, this guy had won, what is the award that they give out for that? It's like some real distinguished honor that you win if you were the top war correspondent. Pulitzer Prize winner as well. Oh, wow. And I mean, this guy was very, very distinguished. So anyway, my dad helps him out with his book, and he was so happy that he was a big baseball fan, and he had connections with the Washington Senators. This was kind of an epiphany moment for me, as I want to say, maybe being like old at the time, and I guess I was like 11 or 12. So I was a fairly young DeForest, but nonetheless, I really hadn't experienced it too much, and certainly nothing like this. Where into the press box, and I was a huge baseball fan in Washington, D.C., and I'm actually sitting next to, I mean, can you imagine me, a young Deef? You know my affection for stadium announcers, ring announcers, all of this stuff. And I'm sitting next to the guy that's going, batting fourth, number 25,
oh, wow.
Frank Howard.
That's your favorite thing. Holy.
So that was good. So I had a little bit of that experience, and I'm seeing all these sports writers that I love, and it was just fantastic. And then he takes me down into the locker room after the game, and who does he introduce me to but Frank Howard?
Oh, wow.
And the guy shook my hand. Now, he was huge. He was like 6'7".
Oh, geez.
A massive guy. He was known for hitting these gargantuan
bombs. Yeah, Frank Howard.
Tape measure home runs. Yeah, I mean, there was another Frank Howard that came along later that obviously was easily distinguished from this Frank Howard. It was a big white guy. And so, anyway, he shook my hand, and I'll never forget. I mean, literally, it was a hand that would have crushed Vito's hand. If you remember some of those handshakes, where he lied that if DeForest didn't come with the money sometime soon, you're like, I have nothing to do with it, nothing.
100%. I just shut up around that guy.
But he couldn't have been any more of a gentleman, I guess was the point. I was very impressed as a young man, and I can still sort of, I mean, as foggy as my memory is in certain regards, I'm going to have to start gargling with Prevagen pretty soon. I can remember and actually picture myself shaking hands with Frank Howard as like an 11 or 12-year-old kid and thinking, my God, I felt like I had just died and went to heaven with this Jim G. Lucas guy. But Frank Howard checking out has a little bit of meaning for me personally because of that experience. And I don't know, was that like the eye-opener that I wanted to get? I knew I wanted to be involved in sports my whole life, but I did see a lot of things there that I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. This would be a good way, to go into ball games for free and getting to know the people that were involved and need so much excitement and enjoyment from, including the sports equinox of last night, Lubie.
Yes.
Where everything was in action. It was hard to keep track of stuff. It really was. I did see the overtime winning goal. I managed to hit it with the remote. I saw the overtime winning goal in the hockey game. I saw what turned out to be the close of the ball game. I saw where the Lions, who were my best bet of the week prior to the week starting, covering against the Raiders, who suck. My God. Jimmy Garoppolo, here's a deceiving stat. He's 10 for 12 in the ball game. Was that really the correct line? I looked at that in stunned disbelief.
What you have, like 80 yards?
It was like 120 yards, but the two passes that he missed on, he had Adams, wide open, like by 50 yards, literally. No, he had been under pressure. I think he was sacked 6 times in the game. So it wasn't like Dan Campbell was sending everybody at this guy.
Yep.
It was amazing. As I even think Alex Karras had a sack in the ballgame. And, he just wanted to beat the living crap out of Jimmy Garoppolo, or so it appeared. And figured that this was a way to win the game. And Garoppolo, his 2 misses, though, he missed both times an absolutely wide open Devontae Adams, who I think had 1 catch in the game for 7 yards in the final statistics. But he could have just as easily had 3 catches for 200 yards. I mean, you won't see a guy more open than that. It was like the old Steve Spurrier offense with the Florida Gators, the old fun and gun. Here. Where you can get Danny Werfel. Think about that, the Heisman Trophy. That's a pretty good offense.
Yep.
Correct? Which for all of the people that despised him when he was kind of the smarmy smartass that he was at the University of Florida, he later became a very endearing character, did he not? As you thought, okay, was Snyder the owner of the Redskins? No, I don't think so. When Spurrier was coaching there?
Yeah.
That had to be prior.
Oh, he was? Yeah. He's the one that hired him. Remember, he tried anything that fucking.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's right. All right. So he got a lot of Snyder's money.
Yes,
and he never really said anything about all this money in his pocket, bought a golf course probably, and said, sorry, Danny boy, your team's never going to be any good because you own it.
Yep.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Hopefully we'll have success later on this morning. Ernie Pyle Award, very good. Mike Mayo, nice job. Mayo would know this. He's a journalist.
Yes.
Now, are we back on the road tonight? What's the story?
Breakfast today. We haven't been
in a
while. I want a breakfast sandwich so bad, so I don't know what they're trying to push, but I know what I want.
I would have to say, that is the best matzo ball soup. I'm not even a matzo ball soup guy.
The soup's great.
That I think I've had. Yeah, when the carrots are something to crave, that's a good sign.
The knishes.
It's like you talking about the steamed vegetables at Landlubber.
And the coleslaw.
I don't need any of this, man. I'm turning over in a leaf today, so I don't know that I'll be participating in any
I'll
of
eat
that.
everything.
Yeah, you can have it, man. And nobody better with the boxes either afterwards. Okay, so we'll see you then. And then hopefully this Tony Bruno Sports Network will be workable today. Otherwise, we blow another monster show. And we will catch you tomorrow with Tony Segreto. We'll go old school with us tomorrow. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants on the Defo Show. As we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 8:59.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.